Page 172, number 17. The expression negative 120 plus 13m represents a submarine that began at a depth of 120 feet below sea level and ascended at a rate of 13 feet per minute. What was the depth of the submarine after 6 minutes? Let's talk about some of the wording in here and what it means to us as a reader of math problems. Below sea level indicates a negative quantity, so that's why we have the negative in front of the 120. Ascended means rising or going up. And so because we're starting from a negative position and we are going back up to the surface, the number of feet per minute that we are rising is a positive value. And we want to find the depth of the submarine after 6 minutes. So I drew a little picture here of what's happening. Here's my little submarine with my periscope, and this is the submarine's location. Currently, it's 120 feet below sea level, and so it's going to be rising incrementally over a period of minutes to get back up to the surface. So we want to know what the location will be after 6 minutes. And so that tells us that m is equal to 6. So we just need to plug in the value, the quantity of 6 minutes in the expression and then solve to find out the location of the submarine after 6 minutes. So here we have a negative plus a positive. So we're going to find the absolute value of each of these. This is a review of the absolute value of negative 120 is 120. The absolute value of 78 is 78. I'm going to subtract the smaller one from the larger one. So 120 minus 78 is 42. To determine whether this is a positive or a negative, I look back at the original problem and I find the larger absolute, the sign of the larger absolute value, and that is negative. And so I am going to put that sign with my answer. So that means that after 6 minutes, my submarine has not reached the surface. It is still 42 feet below sea level. Number 18. A full grain silo empties at a constant rate. Write an expression to determine the amount of grain left after S seconds. So you can see the silo. If you've never seen one before, they're all over the Midwest, Iowa, Minnesota, South Dakota, and they're huge structures made for storing the harvest, generally some sort of grain. And then these vehicles come along and pull up underneath them, and they fill them up, and then they take them maybe to a bakery or somewhere where they make them into breads and things like that. So they empty at a constant rate of 3 5/10 cubic feet per second. So The problem is asking us to write an expression to determine the amount of grain left after S seconds. So again, I like to draw my little pictures because I'm a visual learner. It looks very much like the one in the book. We have 3,000 cubic feet of grain in our silo. It's emptying at 3 5/10 cubic feet per 1 second. So I went ahead and made myself a little proportional chart. I can see that here is my constant. Y over X is going to give me 3 5/10. So I know that is going to be my coefficient. That is going to be the number that is going to go in front of my variable. And they want me to write the expression to determine the amount of grain left after a certain number of seconds. Left implies that I'm going to be subtracting. There's a certain amount of something and a certain number of those things are taken away. How many are left? So left implies subtraction. So I'm going to use my constant of proportionality and determine that this is my coefficient, and I'm looking at how much grain is left after S seconds. So I'm going to have 3 5/10. 3 5/10 S. Every second this much comes out, and I'm going to subtract that from the total amount that was there originally. And that's how I'm going to find my answer for any number of seconds that elevator is emptying.